planning on changing the world just like me. You could be the chairwoman and I'll be the trustee. Let me give all to your benefit. Then I'll get blessed out my deficit.
We're back. It's Tangela Johnson, your host for Your Corporate IQ.
And Lachez Solage, your co-host.
Hey, Lachez, you know what time it is, right?
I
It is time. Is your makeup ready?
It's ready.
Is your hair did?
Yes.
Pearls are on.
Yes, it is.
Okay, then people, cue the theme music for all the listeners out there. In the words of Q-Tip, high, low, or even open toe. Put your heels on, girl. Okay, now we can get started. I know we are both excited about our upcoming guest that's going to share great things with us today. His experience as a Black man in corporate America he's made an impact in many ways, both in hospitality, in his community, and even at home. Can't wait to hear about it. But before I start, let me just give a disclaimer. The views expressed by Your Corporate IQ and its guests today are of our own, and they do not reflect the views of any company or organization. And so with that said, thank you for joining Your Corporate IQ podcast, where we will discuss the pearls and the perils of corporate America. And today's segment is on corporate, the game, and how it's played by Carson Edwards. Carson Edwards has 25 years of experience with Marriott, or should I say Marriott? Let me get it right.
Very good. Very good.
Right? As a global account executive, as well as working on a global sales team for North America. Carson has been recognized by the PCMA Foundation as the 2022 Supplier of the Year and was also the recipient of the 2022 Marriott International Leadership Excellence Award. Welcome, Carson, and congratulations on your recent achievements.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. I didn't get my makeup done today, and I passed on the hair, so you'll have to excuse me. This is the best I have for you, but I'm living the best version of myself right here, right now.
Hey, if you are suited and booted, that's all we care about. That's right.
You look perfect. You look perfect. You're ready. You're ready. You got your jacket on. You're ready. Perfect. So again, so excited. And again, congrats on all of your recent achievements. Fantastic.
Thank you.
We're going to dive right in if you're ready.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. I wanted you to start early in your career. Share with us your early years in your career and how changing companies and work environment shaped your current success.
Yeah, it is. Gosh, it seems like another lifetime ago, but one of my earliest work experience is I was working at a company right before I started my MBA program. It was right outside of Boston, Massachusetts. So I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, actually grew up in Northwest, went to Howard University undergrad, HU in the house. And so you can imagine traveling from Washington, D.C., which is the Mecca of Black professionals. And growing up all my life, all I saw was successful Black men and women. That's what I was used to. It wasn't anything different. It's just kind of the way things were, whether they were entrepreneurs, whether they were in corporate America, whether they worked for the government, whether they were politicians. I mean, it was just the environment in which I grew up in. Fast forward, I get to Boston, totally different. And I went to a company and I knew it was way outside of my comfort zone. Let me be honest with that. Way outside. And most of the folks there had worked together previously at AT&T Capital. So it was kind of like, it was a startup firm. It was a small business. They were like a family, which I admired about them because they truly cared about one another. And I admired what they built there. but I was kind of the outsider, and I don't think it was a
Mm.
conscious decision. It was just I was the outsider. The first obvious reason I was an outsider was this. And I was in an environment where people were probably on average 8 to 10 years older. So they were starting their families, been in corporate
Sure.
America, they've known each other. And I'm this young kid from DC, still going to the club on the weekends. Still-
Sure.
and it was a very challenging working environment. And what was challenging is that I never felt a sense of connectivity. And I reported up to a leader who, in her own right, was extremely sharp, knew the business, very, very, very sharp person. But I think there was an empathetic disconnect. There was definitely a disconnect in that understanding a young Black male and how to motivate a young Black male.
Sure.
And it just made it a very difficult environment for me. And I worked there for several months, and it was one of the first times I ever got fired from a job.
Oof.
And it probably was the
Mm.
best thing that ever happened to me, because you learn in life that you learn from your successes, but you really learn more from your mistakes.
Sure.
And in getting fired, I learned the exact working environment I never wanted to return to. I
Yes.
never wanted to pull up into the parking lot in the morning and feel that bulge in the back of my neck. And then literally, as I'm sitting at my desk, I am watching the clock every minute, every hour till it was quitting time. And so I learned I would never put myself in that position. I would never align myself in a workplace where I didn't have a passion for what I was doing and didn't have a connectivity for the impact of my work. And that really has helped guided my personal professional journey in the workplace. But yeah.
Awesome.
Wow.
There's a lot to learn from what you said there. A couple things that I pulled out. So one of the things that's a reoccurring theme with your corporate IQ is
Mhm.
this idea of increasing your corporate IQ for one, but also what that includes is being able to assess a corporate environment. And so you were able to assess that, hey, this is something that I never want to return to. And so then you were able to fix that moving forward. So I guess with that, I mean, you understood this, and then you took
Mhm.
that knowledge to the next corporation, which is where you are today, right? So
Yeah.
you took that,
Yeah.
you learned and assessed that environment before you joined Marriott. Is that right?
Yes. 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 Exactly what I did. And one of the major reasons why I joined Marriott is after leaving that company and then starting my MBA program, then graduating from the MBA program, I wanted to belong to a company that had a deeper purpose, deeper mission.
Hmm.
And that was very important to me. A lot of my friends from school, they were going to Wall Street or staying in Boston, very much into the financial industry. And that was great. That was where their journey was taking them. But I wanted something a little more. And when I had that opportunity to work with Marriott, I'll be very honest with you. The reason why I joined this company, because I saw the opportunity for a young Black man to be successful. I saw
Mm.
a company, even 20 to actually this month makes 25 years I've been with the company,
Wow.
was
Wow.
ready to invest in a young Black male. Now, it wasn't perfect, but I felt that I didn't want to let perfect get in the way of the good. And I felt the company really wanted to bring me in. They wanted to make an investment in me. And even though at that time I didn't have significant work skills or significant longevity in hospitality other than part time jobs. And I want to say I made a good bet. Had I not worked for the company, wouldn't have met my wife, wouldn't have my two beautiful kids. And so, I am a man of faith, and I do believe, and I have heard my pastor say in church one time, get out of the way, let God direct you in that perfect direction, and don't let yourself be prepackaged. We'll talk about that later in this call, but I think a lot of us allow other people to define who we are. We define our brands. It is ours. We own it. Marriott doesn't own it. Any other corporation doesn't own it. So that's the first corporation we own is our brand. That's our
Yep.
corporation. To the day we die, that is
Whew.
our business entity, our personal brands. So we have to cherish it and fight for it and defend it and grow it and cultivate it. It is a 24/7 job. And the more serious you take your brand, I personally feel the more successful you'll be, whether it be in your personal life or whether it be in your professional life.
And I
Ooh,
have to
wee, I
say, I
just
can
gotta
speak.
jump in
Yeah,
there. I gotta
go
jump
ahead.
in there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But this is exactly what I say all the time, right, Lachez? You must be the CEO of yourself. And you
That's
said
right.
it so brilliantly. We define our brands. I love that.
Oh my goodness. And he's a master of this. I mean, he really champions his own brand. I mean, hey, you're doing both things. You're an ambassador for the company, but also you're championing yourself. You're promoting yourself. He's a master at this. I think you've really learned to master that piece of things for sure. I've seen you do it.
But that didn't come naturally to me. I'll be very honest. I for many years, I was definitely a champion of Marriott. Everything I posted on LinkedIn was Marriott. Everything I posted on Facebook. And I met a young lady who is the CEO of Corporate Alley Cat. Shout out to Corporate Alley Cat. She used to work for Johnson and Johnson. She was in sales. She opened up her own business to help train people to become the better version of themselves for corporate advancement. And we hit it off from the start, very, very sharp. And I think she was a bison. That's why we hit it off from the start. And I remember we were at a public function at the Marriott Warman Park Hotel. And she said to me, Carson, I went through your LinkedIn profile already. I was like, whoa, you don't play around. And she says, yeah, I like what I see. You do a great job of promoting the company. And I was about to tap myself on the back. When are you going to promote yourself? I see a
That's it.
lot of who you are when it pertains to Marriott. I don't see a whole lot of who you are as it pertains to Carson Edwards Incorporated.
Wow.
And she delivered in such a powerful manner, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I sat there, and like in 10 seconds, I saw my whole professional life roll between my eyes. And I said to myself, when do I talk about myself? And here's why that is so hard, because we as people of color, we are raised, let our actions speak for us. Hard work will speak for you. Don't brag on yourself. And so I think, unfortunately, what we lose in that message is the ability to be our own storytellers, right? And the ability
Right.
to craft our own message. And when we do that, we allow other people to craft our own message, and their perceptions become our perceptions. And then ultimately, we start to lose who we are, right?
Mhm.
So that's why you have to fight for that brand like no other. And there is nobody on God's green earth that can tell you what your brand is. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have an open ear to improvements in your brand, and you don't have
Right.
open ears to people who have your best interests in mind that will help you grow that brand. But if you feel that you're going to be the next Bill Gates, or you're going to be the next Bob Johnson, nobody can tell you any different. Or if you want to
Great.
be the next Jay-Z, no one can tell you who you can't be but yourself.
That's it.
And
That's
I
it.
really want people to take that away, because we get so vested in when people tell us what we can't do.
Hmm.
When I was at Wartman Park, before I received this current position that I'm in right now, um, I made a jump. And in my position, normally you have to be a director of sales and senior sales position. I didn't have that experience, but I wasn't trying to wait for it either. I don't believe in following the straight line. I'll take the expressway anytime I can get it. And I thought my immediate director, when I shared with him that I was going to apply for this job, told me I wasn't ready. Now, this man had 2 or 3 less degrees than I have. This is a person, didn't graduate college. This is a
Mm,
person who didn't get a master's. And this is a person who made a transition from catering sales to sales, telling me what I can't do.
mm.
Um, and anyone who knows me as an individual, this is from my track and field background, the best way to
Huh.
get me going is tell me what I can't do. That's
Ex-
the best way to motivate me. Tell me I can't do it. I'm off to the races. And so, that was fuel for my fire. And I went to my leader over him, and he kind of told me the same thing. And I started to see the trend. These men were going to tell me what my destiny was going to be. I was not going to allow that. I worked too hard. Not saying that I was perfect, but I was going to define my destiny. If I was going to not get the job, it was going to be because I tried everything I could, but I just wasn't the best candidate. I was not going to get that job. I was not going to try to pursue my highest potential because other people didn't believe in me. And it's so funny that I see these same people today, and it's like you kind of look at them like, yeah, remember when you told me? It's kind of like that.
Wow.
I'll tell you what it reminds me of. You know, I'm a Lakers fan, Lachez, and the 2001 NBA Finals when Allen Iverson made that shot and walked over Tyronn Lue. That's what I feel when everyone who said something about me, I made that shot and I look at him and I keep walking.
I love that. I love that.
What poetic justice, right?
Oh my God. Sweet, sweet revenge. Sweet
Well,
revenge.
you know, it's not revenge because it's not about them. It's about me.
Right. That's
It,
right.
it is just my way of closing that chapter. And to
Yeah.
say
That's
the
right.
next time you tell someone they're not good enough, you better make sure they're not good enough.
Yeah. Yes. Wow.
I wonder, so when you talk about, it's interesting that you're saying, you have to champion your own brand, and you're fantastic at doing that. I wonder if that also helps you and others that are effective in that area, if that helps you to socialize your successes in your roles. So that's another challenge for, I think, people of color is socializing what they've actually done and some of their successes. Like I do it all the time because it's like no one else is going to do it for you, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you what I did all the time. I want you to know exactly what I did, what Lachez brought to X, Y, and Z. So I would imagine that you're effective at that because you're doing it for yourself all the time. Does it make it easier for you to do that?
You know what? I'll be very transparent with you. I struggle with that to this very day. Um,
Oh,
my mom is Caribbean. And again, the value she instilled with me is that if you're good, you don't have to tell the world they know. That's just the
Mm,
way she grew up. It's just your actions will define it. When I ran track at Howard University, shout out to the late coach William P. Moultrie. He was a man that was, I don't need this. I want to see the action. Don't
right,
tell me, don't tell me, show me. And
right,
he had a saying, the 5 P's: proper preparation prevents poor performance. So Coach Moultrie was all about the performance. The talk was cheap to him. It's
right.
my very first day. We went to my very first track meeting. He started off saying, "Where are all the rookies at?" He don't call them freshmen, call us rookies. I raised my hand, all proud. I'm right here. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to your door. I want you to get all your medals and all your clippings. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to come back in here looking like Mr. T. He says, I want you to walk over to the toilet and I want you to flush it all down the toilet. Because that doesn't mean anything to me. That's the past. High school, we're done with that. He says, we're talking about what you're going to do for me right here, right now. So
wow.
That's
I
right.
grew up in that culture of, my actions are going to speak for me. And I'll be honest for you, for probably close to the first 10 years of my professional career with Marriott, I really struggled with telling my story. I felt like it was bragging. I
Mm-hmm.
felt it was beneath me. It's not naturally in my character. And it was a skill I had to develop. But also I started to see people who I knew I was more talented advancing themselves because they were very effective in telling their own stories. And it wasn't about the work.
Right,
It was
right.
about their ability to create their narrative about their asset or what they can deliver to help make the company better. So once
Yes.
I started to realize, you know what, I may not like this, but I need to become good at it. That's when things started to change for me. And I still struggle with it today. I am extremely proud anytime I receive any accolades because I know any award I receive is not me. It's all the people who helped get me to this point throughout my life. All the
Mm,
elementary school teachers, all my track coaches, all my
Sure.
professors. I mean, if we had more time, I can literally almost name each and every one of them. So
Wow.
I'm here
wow.
because of the investments they made in me. So I accept on their behalf. So, but I tell that story now, 25 years into this, um, now in a position where my voice carries, I feel weight and I can see the value in that. Now I feel my mission is to help the next generation to avoid some of those mistakes that I made early on and to be proud in expressing their authentic selves and carrying their voices and creating their brands and writing their own narratives. So that's where I feel I have to do it now. I can no longer afford to sit back on the sidelines. And it makes it more comfortable because then I feel like I'm giving back I'm delivering for folks, as opposed to I'm sitting up there reading my resume and talking about myself, which is so anti me. I am not one to like to talk about myself unless I'm sharing something that helps someone else grow from that experience.
I love this. I love the candor of it, right? To say that, hey, look, I wasn't always good at this. And by
Yeah.
the way, this is a very hard thing to do, and it's a very hard thing to balance. Like, what is too much self-promotion? Where is the stopping point where it becomes kind of overly performative, right? So I see that as well, where it's like you're talking, self-promotion. It becomes ridiculous, but it's a balance, and it's something that you
Yeah.
have to be effective at doing. Also, it helps you when it's time to interview for something else, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so if you're challenged with self-promotion or socializing your success is really what I call it, it'll be that much more difficult for you to speak about what you've done during an interview. Because that's all you're doing during the interview is socializing what you've done in an effective way. So it just helps you along the way to even do that as well.
You are a storyteller. When you interview, you are your own Alex Haley, your own George Lucas, and you have to own that. That to me, storytelling is one of the most significant superpowers anybody in corporate America can have. Yeah,
Hmm.
you need to have your business acumen, of course. Yeah, you need to understand analytics. Yeah, you need to be able to do the fundamentals of your job. Boy, if you don't have that storytelling piece, you can't string together those wins and those victories in a intelligent and tangible way that your leaders above you and the team that reports to you can understand.
Yes.
Because to lead, you have to inspire. To inspire, you have to be able to tell the story. And I really mean that. This is not corny. This is honest to goodness understanding that we all had a journey and we all have a journey.
Right.
And that journey helps us get somewhere next, or it helps someone else get somewhere. Also, when our leaders look at us and ask you, what have you done for me lately? Boy, if you can't tell a story then, you you have to be. If your CEO got in the elevator with you, looking in your face and says, why are you even a part of my company? If you can't sit up there and say, well, I'm the reason why you made $10 million last year, or whatever
I
your
know
case,
that's it.
the reason why you're doing so well in this quarter. And on top of that, I'm really helping spreading diversity within the organization, and not just the color of my skin, but the content of my character. If you can't say that with authority to the person who writes the checks, it's game over.
Yes.
That's it.
But
That's
that's
the
a
difference
skill set that had to
between,
be learned.
yeah, that's the difference between longevity and not,
Yeah.
right? And also, I've done tons of interviews at Marriott, right? Tons of leaders, leader after leader. And certainly there are tons of them that have the experience. They've done a lot in their career. And I know that because I've talked to them personally. But if you're not able to socialize that effectively and show me what you did, how you did it, and your results, it just doesn't matter, right? Because the
Yeah.
next person will. And that's the
Yeah.
truth.
It's and I use a lot of sports analogy. I grew up in sports. It's kind of like I'm a Lakers fan, so here I'm going to reference the Lakers again. So it was the semifinals when the Lakers played the Golden State Warriors, and Lonnie Walker, who was absolutely, I don't say a nobody because everybody's somebody, but obviously wasn't a marquee player for the Lakers. And the
Sure.
Lakers were struggling, going back and forth with the Golden State Warriors. And he came off the bench and dropped 15 points in a quarter. And after that game, everybody knew his name, right? And so, he was Mr. Fourth Quarter. He told his story through his actions in that game. And you
Yes.
never forget that. But if I could share this best practice with the listeners of this podcast,
Yes.
especially for those who struggle with really finding out what their wins are in life. There is a planner that I use called Panda Planner. And part of the daily exercise, it asks you to document your wins. Your wins could be, hey, you know what? I haven't had a date night in 6 months, and I just had the best date night with my wife in 10 years. I don't care what a win is for you. Or, you know what? I said I wanted to start my own entrepreneurial venture. I met with 2 or 3 folks last week, and they gave me some great pointers. And here's what I did today to follow up on that. The wins are going to be what you individually feel that they are. But getting in that practice, that Panda Planner, and I got into the Panda Planner maybe about, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago in particular, it is extremely helpful because it reinforces what your wins are on a daily basis. And you start to see that and you start to reaffirm, wow, actually get through that. I actually created something. I actually, had a big win for the company. Actually, hey, I went to I'm a big soccer dad. I went to my daughter's soccer game and she kicked butt, and that was the best experience I've ever had. And so getting that practice of acknowledging those wins. Hey, I cleaned my office up and my office hadn't been cleaned in 2 years. Let's be honest, it can happen. Um,
Yes.
so let's just getting that habit and recognizing what value we bring, whether into our personal or our professional lives. Document it, look at it, and what Panda
Yeah.
Planner does at the end of the week, it forces you to go back and review your wins, because you then have to document your top 3 or 4 wins through the week.
I
So
like that. I like
it,
that a
it
lot.
it's a great habit. It doesn't take a lot, but it really opens up your eyes to understanding, wow, I'm bringing something to the table. Whatever that superpower is, you now have the documentation to back it up. So why is that important? When you have your reviews with your leaders, I go into my reviews, my leaders knowing exactly what I've delivered to the table. I almost can write my own reviews before we have our review. And if one thing is missing, I will let them know. Again, I'm writing my story. I didn't do that early in my career. I let my leaders dictate my story. I no longer do that. Well, I wasn't aware of what you did with that project. Here, let me help you. This is what I did. I brought the customers in. I helped set the event up. It brought in X amount of delivery. It delivered for X amount of hotels. At the end of the day, here's the quantitative value that that relationship brought to the table.
That's it.
I'm writing
Having
my
your
story.
own having your own metrics even, right?
Yeah, yes.
So you're responsible for quantifying your success on their end, but you
And
have to do it for yourself as well. What are your results? What did you measure for yourself, right? You have to do that too.
absolutely. Absolutely. And you don't have to have a litany of things. Just whatever your 3, 4, 5 major wins are, just be able to recite it, be able to quantify it to your terms, be able to deliver it. And, the more you do that, your leaders are going to pick up on it like, okay, he or she, they're on top of it. They understand exactly what we need. I don't need to manage them as much. They know what they're doing. I can focus on other things. And that's how you build credibility within your organization.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. 25 years with Marriott. I mean, tremendous.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That
Thank
is outstanding. That is outstanding. It's also rare, right? That type of longevity with one organization is, I don't see it often in my career. I don't
you.
know
Mhm.
about Tandio. What about you? I think it's rare at this point,
It's
right?
rare. Yes, absolutely. Hmm.
So we talked about some of the keys, some of the things that you feel were keys to your success, to longevity.
Mhm.
Some of those being, telling your own story, being your own brand champion. What are some of the other keys to your success as you kind of look back and reflect on what else do you think has been really instrumental in your success?
Wow. I will say this. First and foremost, I have been very blessed professionally to be surrounded by coworkers who are like family to me. People that I really trust. And trust is probably the second or third most valuable commodity that you can have outside of your health and love within your family. And the trust that I have developed with a core group of folks that I've worked with has been outstanding. And why that's important, there have been people who have been my advocates when I'm not in a room, and I had no idea that they were advocating for me.
Hmm.
And I'll say this: I know that people tend to say, you want to get your board, your personal board, right? Words are very powerful. When I hear board, it sounds transactional. Sounds like I'm going to the bank, I'm delivering a market plan, I want money, goods, and services. I tend to use something um, more of a small council, if I may steal that from Game of Thrones, because you want people whose it's not just about their titles, but it's about their wealth of knowledge. It's about your ability to confide into them things professionally or personally that you
Yeah.
can't confide into most people, and to grow and learn from that interaction.
Yeah.
So I I just don't like the word bored because it just sounds transactional. And if you're transactional with those relationships, it's just not going to be, it's not going to withstand the test of time. And maybe it's just me. I don't believe in transact. Well, let me take that back. There are going to be some relationships that are transactional because there's not real investment to have anything more. But, for my small account, so for the people that I don't make major moves in my life without having a conversation with them. I don't want to call them a board. They're my counsel. Also, when we're talking about people who advocated for me when I'm not in the room, that's why I hate the word sponsor. Sponsor sounds like I'm a product. I'm not, no. I love advocate because advocate means that person is fighting for you. That person knows who you are. And when you're not in the room, they're going to be like, it's no way we're not going to give this job for this person, or it's no way we're not going to bring this person into this group of leaders and lift them up. That's an advocate. That's a person who has your back. Like my wife would call her, she's my ultimate ride or die. These are the people when you're not in the room, they are your He-Man, your She-Ra, your Rosa Parks. They are banging down doors to get you in the room or get you ahead of the game. So use power and words. So that's part of it. Just having people in my corner, good people. Secondly, you never stop learning. The worst thing you can do for your career is think you know it all, because you don't.
Right.
I
That's right.
say you don't stop learning until the good Lord calls you home.
Please
So
say it again, because I think that people need to know this. I don't understand why it's such a hard concept for folks, but say it again, please.
it's first of all, learning is a beautiful thing because
Yes.
it opens your mind up to things you never realize. And I'm fortunate. I tend to be intellectually curious. I like to pick up things. So if I don't know, I want to know. And I'm very fortunate that Marriott is a company that does promote education. I mean, if you ever left this company and you haven't gotten 3 or 4 certifications at least, or gone to at least 3 or 4 trainings, you were slacking on the job. Um, the company does provide tremendous training and resource. It's almost a sin not to take advantage of all the training that's available. So I just believe in training. And now I'm going to go to my superhero background, because I grew up a big Batman fan. And what was amazing about Batman, that he wasn't only physically strong, but he was incredibly intelligent. And outside of all the cool gadgets, his utility belt. If you remember, Batman always had something in his utility belt to save the day. That's why I feel education. I feel your education should be like that. If you feel like, man, I wish I knew a little more about AI. Okay, now I need to fill up that utility belt in that particular compartment. Oh man, I wish I knew a little bit more about interpersonal communications. Now I need to fill up that utility belt. And there's no reason why. You can Google it. You can go to LinkedIn Learning. I'm in Marriott, so we have a gazillion training sessions. I was just in Montreal last week for a PCMA Educon. Shout out PCMA. And I personally went there wanting to learn more about AI and how it's relevant in the hospitality industry. And I met a gentleman of the startup company for the AI platform. It was one of the best conversations I have of the week. And I'm not a techie by training, but I'm a wannabe a techie. And, I got my geek on, and we're just sitting there talking about the power of AI, how it's going to revolutionize our society, the pros and
Awesome.
the cons. And what should have been a 5-minute conversation was almost 45 minutes. And again, I'm not a techie. And so that's fascinating. Now I have a friend who lives in Singapore who's starting up his own business with this platform. He's asked me to, hey, as we continue to grow this AI, we want to bounce things off of you to see how it works in your life, so that we can learn and make tweaks to the system so it'd be a better overall product. That's impressive that 2 guys who are starting their own business feel like I have something to offer. And now I have friends who live in Singapore. So shout out to Singapore when I hit the international road. So,
That's right.
that's the beauty of learning.
Yeah.
Uh, Learning is an eternal journey, and you have to embrace that. And then thirdly, again, telling your own story,
Hmm.
owning your brand, own your brand, surround yourself with fantastic people of character. And when I say fantastic people of character, please do not interpret that as they need to be a VP or CEO or whatever the case may be. It could
Yes.
be the housekeeper. It could be the doorman. It could be the person that serves you lunch every day. But that person's character could be stellar. And so surround yourself with people that lift you up and don't bring you down.
Yes.
Wow. You know what's interesting? I'm going to go back to a point you made earlier about your board of directors. I know you're moving away from that term. Let's call it your small council then, right? I don't know if you remember when I first started at Marriott, that was one of the first things you said to me. I set up, Tangiel, I set up these coffee talks and I was like, you know what? I need to know this Carson Edwards gentleman. You know, I found him on LinkedIn. I knew he was at the company. I was like, I need to know who he is. I need to know what he does. His work looks like it connects to mine. So I set up a coffee talk with him. You know, he took the meeting, and that's one of the things
Yes.
that he said to me. You know, you need to find your small committee or small council, as you call it now. So I don't know if
Yeah.
you remember that you shared that with me and how important it's been to you. And that was something that was really meaningful and really helped me, you know, during my time there was to identify and find those individuals within the company and allowed me to feel safe and comfortable and
Yeah.
allowed me to be successful in the work that I went to do with my teams because I
Yeah.
had that committee that
Yeah.
was supportive of me and back to
Mhm.
what you called advocates. I had advocates like yourself. So
Yeah.
as I go off and do the work that I'm doing within my discipline, I could feel comfortable, right,
Yeah.
in that environment with the network that I created, the council that I curated.
Yes.
Mm.
It means a lot because again, I go back to my early career before Marriott. I go back to my early career within Marriott, and to have that connectivity, you're blessed if it's people that look like you, but sometimes it's not. They may not look like you, but you share something within their spirits and their kindred spirit, their desire to learn, their desire to grow as a human being. It is nothing more satisfying than that because we're all going to have tough days. And we're all going to need to lean on a person or two when we want to throw a few people out of the back window. And that person can say, take a deep breath. We'll get through this. It's just a bad day. You just need that support. And our company is so large, right? And it's easy to not see other people that look like you that experiences some of the things like you. And so when you came on board in particular, Lachez, and I for the audience, I can't lie, we hit it off immediately. And it was something in Lachez's spirit. I was like, oh my God, this woman has got it going on. Um, it
Come on.
amongst everything, because you're incredibly smart. But what I sensed about you is that you cared not only about your work performance, but you also cared about the team efforts making sense and being able to deliver on a product. And Lachez, we first bonded in Chicago, the two of us doing a job of 20 people, and you took over a role from a person who'd done it for years, and we didn't miss a beat. And we actually raised the bar of what we delivered as far as getting students interested in our company. And I
Yeah.
just sat there in amazement. And I don't hand these compliments out easy because if you do good, I will say that. And if you don't, trust me, I'll say that too. You blew my mind. You blew my mind.
Aw,
I was saying she's making me raise my game. And it was, you were sharp, you were smart, you were intellectually curious. And immediately after we finished that event, you were already talking about how do we take it to the next level next year? I'm like, oh my God, she just joined the company.
I remember you saying, how long have you been here? And I was like, oh, I've been here 2 months. And you were like, 2 months?
I mean, but that's a testament to who you are. And I
Thank you.
never officially asked you to be a part of my small council. You just are. That's just how it is. You are my small council. You cannot say no. I never officially asked you to be on it. But you are because in all of that time, I learned that every time I had a conversation with you, I learned something different.
Wow.
I learned about reading the McKinsey report every day.
Wow.
I learned how you viewed the metrics of our company from a HR talent acquisition lens. That was extremely helpful to me. Obviously, we bonded on our kids being parents. And then, obviously, at a time where a lot of corporations were dealing with the impact of the murder of George Floyd, it was fascinating to hear your perspective on it from the lens that you sat at. And so I'm sitting there learning from you, and you just joined the company. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I just feel I learned from my 17-year-old daughter. I think you can learn from anybody. And I
Yes.
was fascinated about what you brought to the table as far as your experience, your integrity, your intellectual curiosity, your ability to say, okay, let's get back at it. How are we going to take this to the next level? This is what we need. And I'm sitting back and like, she just joined the company. What in the world is going on? I mean, so that's incredible. And so I say that for the folks who are listening, these are the people you need in your life. These are the people who add to your being. And these are the people that hopefully you're adding to their beings as well. These are the people who don't have to say it, but you know they have your back through their act.
Oh,
So when
oh,
I say small council, that's what I'm talking about. I don't care if someone has a title. Someone can have a title. You only see them once a quarter for coffee. That's not impressive. You know, someone who you can talk about strategy, you can talk about family, you can talk about career growth, you can talk about love, friendship. You know, that's the people who add to your essence. Those need to be into your small council. So
oh my
sorry.
goodness. It's mutual. It's mutual. And really, to be honest and transparent, I was really just trying to meet you. You know, that's kind of like the bar that folks like yourself set, and the people that my internal, that small committee that I built there. I was really actually just living up to what you guys have already set forth, actually. You'd already set the bar there. And so I was really just meeting you guys where you were.
You took it to another level. Been doing it 20 years plus. You know, you took it to another level. You really did because the results we were looking for many, many years happened as a result of your participation and your quiet leadership. And the only reason I said quiet, because you weren't doing it for the glory. You weren't doing it loudly. You were just getting stuff done. You were connecting people. You were looking at our processes and helping us to fill in the holes in our process and raise it to the next level. And everybody who interacted with us on site felt that.
Oh,
I
thank
say that
you.
sincerely, you know, as a member of my small council, and no one else can have you in their small council listening to
You're stuck with me forever. You're stuck with me forever. That's it.
Love it.
Look, we said that you are a digital DJ, so that's I knew that. I knew that about you, which is cool, very interesting. You
yeah.
know, soccer dad, you know, husband. How do you balance everything? The successful career, how do you balance all of it?
You know, it's what keeps me grounded at work. Well, I'll tell you this. My father-in-law, whom I have I'm profoundly blessed to have a great relationship with my father-in-law. He's like my best friend. And it's been that way, honestly, since before I got married to my wife. And so she gets mad when I call him dad because she's like, no, that's my dad. I'm like, no, since we got married, he's mine too. He is, Howard Jones is just a pillar of wisdom. And you know, you talk to some people and it just seems like they're just this reservoir of intelligence and wisdom and
Yes.
calmness. And early in my career, I've always been driven. I'm a track athlete. You know, it's always about trying to be the first person to cross the line. So early in my career, you know, of course, I had that mindset. I didn't exercise balance.
Mm.
And, you know, I was going to work 6, 7 in the morning, coming home 8, 9, 10 at night, and on the weekends, you know, all focused on work because I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be the person that they talk about. You know, that's fine and all. But I was ignoring my commitments to my wife. And at the time, my oldest daughter, we only had one daughter at that time. And my wife pulled me aside and says, I didn't get married to be a single parent. And
Okay.
Mhm.
my wife said, you're going to have to make a decision. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And, you know, I talked to my father-in-law. It wasn't about that specific instance, but my father-in-law said to me, you know, son, I want you to have a good career. But here's one advice I'm going to tell you that's going to help you. Think of yourself when you go to work, you plug into the wall like an electrical outlet. 6 o'clock, you yank it out the wall and don't come back. He says, you have got to create boundaries from work and personal life. He said, it is not sustainable long term by not creating those boundaries. I'm like, Dad, that's counterproductive. You know, corporate America, you got to be 24/7. And he laughed at me. And he's a chemical engineer. He laughed at me. It's like, son, I'm here to tell you.
Wow.
If you want to preserve your marriage, and I know you are invested in your wife and you invested in, I only have one daughter at that time. Now I have two, of course. You're going to learn that lesson. And it took me a number of years to do that. And there isn't a single award that I've earned professionally that means more than my kids. I tell you straight up.
Oh,
I get
that's
more,
right.
I get more pleasure seeing my daughter win a soccer tournament than any award I can receive from Marriott or PCMA. And no disrespect to those organizations, because I'm highly vested in both of them. But that's what life is about. Because ultimately, when we get called home, it's not going to say, oh, he did great things for Marriott. It's going to say he's a great husband, great father. He contributed to his community. People are going to say, you know what, that Carson man, he was that guy that did this, that, and the other. They're not going to rattle, he won all of these track medals, he did all of this. They don't care about that. They're going to care about the
Right.
essence of the person. And so my responsibility, numero uno, is to make sure my daughters always know dad is 100% present. Even if I'm not there, they know they can call me. I've been on the road in meetings. My daughters call me, hey, I got to step out, take the call.
Yeah, he
That's
does.
that is
Mhm.
that is what life is about. That is what
Wow.
life's about. Because
It is.
if it's not about my daughters and my family, then what am I working hard for?
Right.
Because
Right.
here's the ultimate reality, folks. And I'm just going to tell you as honestly as I can. If you die today in your seat, they will have someone in your chair within 48 hours. They'll send flowers to your family, and they'll keep it moving. I, and it's not that people don't care. That is just the reality of it. They will replace you by the end of the week, and they'll keep moving.
Yes.
So while you have given everything for that and have sacrificed your personal relationships, what's really important? You just have to learn that balance. Be 100% present when you're at work, do the job, perform at a high level, create the best relationships you can at work, but never sacrifice your family life. Never. It's not worth it in the long term.
Wow. What I want to say here is, we're talking about, kind of navigation and having it, having this kind of toolkit and recipe for success. I think what's so
Mm-hmm.
interesting about you and what listeners need to learn about this is that, yeah, you're doing all the right things. You're championing your own brand and you're building up your small committee or your council and your networks. You're doing all the things you're supposed to do. You're navigating. But on top of all of that, you're a human being. You're someone that's really grounded in the things that matter. So I think this is really important with your success, understanding you're doing all things. You're grounded in understanding what's really important, your family, you're grounded in integrity, you're grounded in the community. Those are things that have made you a fully successful professional.
Mhm.
Outstanding.
It's again, it goes back to my mom and all her lessons. Basically, she didn't use the word brand, but basically you are creating people's impression of you, right? And you want people's impression of you be of the highest standard you possibly can. We all make mistakes. And there are just going to be some people that don't get you, and that's their loss, not mine. But you want to create an atmosphere of trust and reliability and integrity. I think that goes beyond any analytical skills you have, any degree that you have, because if people don't trust you, they don't trust the decisions that you make, they don't trust the feedback that you give them, you're just not going to be successful, not especially in corporate America.
Right.
And so trust is important. I forgot one other element, human respect. Oh my God,
Yes.
and for my future CEOs who are listening to this and my future business owners, I don't care how successful you are. If you don't speak to that housekeeper is cleaning your office, or the janitor who's dumping your trash and this with the same veracity that you would greet your CEO, you need to change that, because you never know who that person is and how they can help you out, because they also have a voice when you're not in the room. Everything matters. And if you treat people well, and this is something I learned, this is the beauty,
Yes.
as we talked about this, this is the beauty of the hotel industry, especially if you ever worked on property, you speak to everybody. There is no, I'm in sales or I'm in the exec office. I don't speak with you. You can
Right.
try that if you want to, but I will
Right.
tell you, my beloved housekeepers and doormen will dress you down in a second. And plus, they are some of the most amazing people. You have people who have traveled to this country from war-torn circumstances, who probably never had an education beyond fifth or sixth grade, and have come to America and created a phenomenal life for them and their families. And they are so proud to be able to send their kids to college or to buy their first home. And there's nothing more humbling to know that whatever I'm doing, the work that I do help keep my friends who are my colleagues employed. And by keeping them employed, they're making that mortgage payment, they're buying that car, they're sending their kids to college. And it's nothing more humbling to see how that all works. So anytime we kind of get high on ourselves, it is fascinating to talk to people who, a lot of people say, oh, they're courageous. You don't know about courage until, and this is a true story. A man told me he crawled out on his belly out of Cambodia to get out of the country in the middle of a war to start a new
Wow.
life in America. When you hear something like that, you can't help but be awed about the human spirit. You can't
Wow.
help, and that goes back again to the learning. You're always learning from folks,
Yep.
and the beauty of people from all over the world, for so many different backgrounds, to share their stories, their lives, their tribulations, and they come here, and they're so proud of their jobs. They're so proud of the future they've created for themselves, and then they turn all that positive energy and give it to our guests as they walk through the doors of our hotels. I mean, that's
Mm.
I hate to sound corny, but that's magic. I mean, that is,
That is
Yeah,
magic.
and like how hard is it to just speak to people, right? These are
yeah,
basic things, basic humanity things that people
yeah,
need to revisit, right?
yeah,
How hard is it to say hello? How are you? It's
hmm
not
Yeah.
difficult. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
basic humanity.
I would encourage people, um, when you're at work and you have lunch, don't sit with the same people all the time. And when I was at the
Mm.
hotel property, one of the things that I broke the mold with, everyone in sales sat at the same table. I always sat with the housekeepers, always sat with the janitors. Because we always like sports. So I'm bragging about my Lakers or at that time my Redskins. So, but again, you're meeting people, you're getting out of your comfort zone, and here's why that mattered. Not because this is what I wanted it to matter, but here's why that mattered. When my customers came into the hotel, and they ran into those same housekeepers, those same bellmen.
That's
Oh,
it.
you're working with Carson? Oh, you're good to go. That's the guy right there. That's the
That's
person.
it.
He's going to take great. I mean, this is them telling the customers that, and I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe you're doing. But you know what my clients would always say? That was authentic. I can see that person, that man, that woman respected you and bringing in business for the hotel, and they're going to be committed to taking care of our meetings. So they, in a sense, did my job
Mm.
for me, and you can't
Right.
fake that stuff. And so,
Mm.
although it would be embarrassing on the spot, it was the ultimate form of recognition from your peers, and they are my peers. I don't care if you just fluff pillows for a living. You are my peer, because that pillow to you that you fluff creates a positive experience for my guests that keeps them coming back to the hotel and investing money back into our hotel. So yes,
Mm.
my peers' accolades meant something, and it delivered to the bottom line.
Mm.
Awesome. So my
Great.
final question is, what do you wish someone would have shared with you early in your career?
Oh gosh, do we have another hour? Well, one of the things I wish that someone would have shared with me early in my career is to be a little more fearless and embrace making the mistakes.
Awesome.
And because I think, I started my career, I was obviously in my early 20s, and, I'm coming out of Howard, I got my MBA. So in my mind, I'm thinking I have to be flawless, right? I have to be this perfect guy and say all the right things and execute, from a work standpoint, everything perfectly. And you're so concerned about not making a mistake that you're making them a plenty. And instead of embracing it, say, hey, you know what? I'm going to make mistakes, but guess what? I won't repeat mistakes, and I will learn from those mistakes and become a better professional as a result. And I think it's hard in corporate America because people seek people seek consistency as a sign of success. You know, if I consistently
Mm.
do this, I'll be successful. If I consistently talk to this person, if I consistently eat here, if I consistently walk a certain way, if I consistently dress a certain way. And there is some truth to that. But the people who really get rewarded in corporate America and really in life are people who take risks. If you talk to many successful people, it's because they saw something in themselves or in people around them that most people didn't see. And they weren't afraid to say, come hell or high water, this is what I'm going to do. And, I mean, how many entrepreneurs have you talked to and said, yeah, I may have been a car valet, but I always knew this is what I wanted to do. And now they own multiple businesses, and
Mhm.
so but you have to be able to say, I'm going to screw up. And I can't put in words how afraid I was when I applied for the job that I currently have. I didn't on paper have the experience, and there were people from here to across the street telling me what I couldn't do, and there was a level of fear of that. And I thank God that was the one moment that I fought back against. No, let me go the traditional path. I gotta check this box, then check that box, and check. I'd still be anyway because I said nope. You know what? I've always been on warp speed. I didn't go to college the most traditional route. I didn't go to grad school the most traditional route. Hell, I got a 1 year MBA. Me, a 1 year MBA. So nothing in my life has been traditional. So why should I start now trying to be traditional?
Right.
And if it's untraditional, embrace it and
Yeah.
embrace the untraditional traditional approach and
I
own it.
like that.
It, document it within yourself. So once you have gotten to that point where you have that voice within your organization and or your company, you can then start telling people, here's my story. Yours may not be exactly like mine, but if there's something here for me, I know there's going to be something here for you. And
Mhm.
that's what people feel. And I know it's a cliche. I'm going back to storytelling again. People buy into stories. People,
Yeah.
because it gives them hope. It helps them see themselves beyond their current circumstances. And they'll look at you and me and Tangiel like, oh my God, this lady is sharp. I want to be like her.
Right.
And lastly, I do want to leave people with this. This is no epiphany, but this is real. Someone's always watching.
Yeah.
Yes.
Someone is always watching. And I don't mean that necessarily in a negative sense.
Right.
Here's why I say that. When I travel, Lachez, you know this. I'm psychotic when it comes to working out. I'm
Yes.
psychotic about health
Yes.
and
He
wealth,
has his regimen. He has his regimen, folks.
and I'll post every so often, and there are people who I've never met before, and will say, "Hey, I saw your workout. It inspired me to do this." Or if I'm at a professional event, there are people who come up to me, "Hey, I just been checking out your feed. I'm so happy to see you being successful, and it means a lot to me." And I
Wow.
had a young gentleman who came up to me in Montreal, and I've known him for a while. And he pulled me aside. We were at lunch, uh, and he said, "I look up to you, Carson." And black men don't say that to other black men very easily. I mean, we're black men. We're proud. we are we are proud. And he and I'm in my mind. I'm like, oh my God, you've got to have a better role model than me. But you know, and he just said, I've just seen how you carry yourself. I see how when other people approach you or whenever I had to ask a question, you never blew me off or made like you didn't have time to speak to me. Because I had just finished telling him, hey, if ever you want to just jump on a call and just talk about things, I said, we as men, we have to support one another. So, you don't feel like you have to make an appointment unless it's something real serious. And I want to make sure I carve out time so that I can give you my complete attention. But I said, never hesitate to call me for whatever. And, he said, I really appreciate that. And that meant a lot to me. That again, those are the things that mean more to me to any of those awards, because I didn't always have a person like that in my life coming up through the ranks. So I know how important that is. I know how
Mhm.
important it is to look up to someone.
Hmm.
My father wasn't present in my life. And I had a father by committee, starting with my mother, starting with my track coaches, starting with a lot of my teachers. And I know how important it is to have the right people in your life at the right time for
Yeah.
whatever reason. And for that young man to say that to me, that was a
Wow.
compliment. You know what I thought to myself? Maria Pemberton raised her son the right way. That's immediately what I thought.
Oh,
My mother would be that. Yeah, I'm 49. That's how I think. My mother
Yeah.
would be proud. That's how my mind
oh.
processes things.
Awesome.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would. Thank you so much, Carson. Just an amazing set of
Yes.
experiences. So many pearls to glean from what you
Yes.
shared with us today. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you still have questions, hit me up on LinkedIn, Carson Edwards Jr. Just shoot me a message and let's connect. And I'm happy to share any insights that I can.
Oh, this is wonderful. Oh, thanks again, Carson. This was such a treat. I took so many notes.
Me
We
too.
definitely have things that align for sure, and lessons learned are very similar. So this was great. Thank you again.
Thank
And so for
you.
those that are listening, remember to stay tuned for more episodes with Your Corporate IQ podcast. We're interested in hearing from you. Send your topics and suggestions and your comments to info@yourcorporateiq.com, and like us and engage with us as well on Your Corporate IQ Instagram, LinkedIn. We'd love to build an online community with you. And until next time, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
High, low, close or open toe. You be looking good when you rock 'em, so put your heels on, girl. Them heels on, lady. Hit your ground hard, you drive me crazy. Palms get sweaty, I'm imagining things. When I see what reality brings, I get choked from the vision of comparable. So dumb, man, I could write a parable. Killing when I go back to my rap hole living. Michelangelo